Some sea. Story time with Ronnie. What's going on? Well, journey to the center of the earth. Part 30. What are we doing there, Simpsy? We just gonna take us a little sunset drive on into the valley over the big Gonzales Pass. This is the Arboretum turnaround, and off we go. Now let's get this show on the road, as it were. Now, this story, Journey to the Center of the Earth. Harry had just, kind of recovered, and he had a good night's sleep, he had a good meal, and his uncle was like chomping at the bit, telling him, okay, come on, let's get to it. I want to get going while the tide is high, and we'll pick it up there. What? I cried, rising in astonishment. Did you say the tide, Uncle? Certainly I did. You did not mean to say, I replied in a tone of respectful doubt, that the influence of the sun and moon is felt here below? And pray, why not? Are not all bodies influenced by the law of universal attraction? Why should this vast underground sea be exempt from the general law, the rule of the universe? Besides, there is nothing like that which is proved and demonstrated. Despite the great atmospheric pressure down here, you will notice that this inland sea rises and falls with as much regularity as the Atlantic itself. As my uncle spoke, we reached the sandy shore and saw and heard the waves breaking monotonously on the beach. They were evidently rising. This is truly the flood, I cried, looking at the water at my feet. Yes, my excellent nephew, replied my uncle, rubbing his hands with the gusto of a philosopher. Gusto? And you see by these several streaks of foam that the tide rises at least 10 or 12 feet. It is indeed marvelous. By no means, he responded. On the contrary, it is quite natural. It may appear so in your eyes, my dear uncle, was my reply. But the whole phenomena of the place appear to me to partake of the marvelous. It is almost impossible to believe that which I see. Who, in his wildest dreams, could have imagined that beneath the crust of our earth there could exist a real ocean, with ebbing and flowing tides, with its changes of winds, and even its storms? I, for one, should have laughed the suggestion to scorn. But Harry, my boy, why not? Inquired my uncle, with a pitying smile. Is there any physical reason in opposition to it? Well, if we give up the great theory of the central heat of the earth, I certainly can offer no reasons why anything should be looked upon as impossible. Well, now you're starting to get the idea there, Harry. Oh, we just rolling up the hill here. Nothing exciting, but it is kind of a nice little drive, and I thought it would look kind of pretty sitting up there. And I got to learn how to turn down the ISO settings on that camera, because it really goes a long ways, and it's actually quite dark there right now. But it's really working hard there. Okay, let's get back to it. Oh, there's that word again. Wow. Okay. This is, but of course, oh boy, I lost my spot. That just never happens. This is a first. Okay, Oh boy, I must have just changed the page, and that's why I decided to start yammering. Oh yes, anything should be looked upon as impossible. Then you will own, he added, that the system of Sir Humphrey Davy is wholly justified by what we have seen. I allow that it is, and that point once granted, I certainly can see no reason for doubting the existence of seas and other wonders, even countries, in the interior of the globe. That is so, but of course these varied countries are uninhabited. So yeah, I think those girls saw the camera up there. They were pointing at it there. You could hear the engine brake just kind of kick in there. I do not see why this. Oh, okay. Well, I really lost. Varied countries and uninhabited. Uninhabited. Okay. Well, I grant that is more likely than not. Still, I do not see why the sea should not have given shelter to some species of unknown fish. Hitherto, we have not discovered any, and the probabilities are rather against ever doing so, observed the professor. I was losing my skepticism in the presence of these wonders. Well, I am determined to solve the question. It is my intention to try my luck with fishing line and hook. Certainly, make the experiment, said my uncle, pleased with my enthusiasm. While we are about it, it will certainly be only proper to discover all the secrets of this extraordinary region. But after all, where are we now? I asked. All this time I have quite forgotten to ask you a question, which doubtless your so close. Physio, boy, that's going to be a tough one now. Physiosophical, oh boy, you know, that word. All right, we're going to have to find it. Philosophical. Doubtless your philosophical instruments have long since answered. Well, replied my uncle, examining the situation from only one point of view. We are now distant 350 leagues from Iceland. So much, was my exclamation. I have gone over the matter several times, and I am sure not to have made a mistake of 500 yards, replied my uncle positively. And as to the direction, are we still going to the southeast? Yes, with a western declination of 19 degrees 42 minutes, just as it is above. As for the inclination, I have discovered a very curious fact. What might that be, uncle? Your information interests me. Why, that the needle, instead of dipping toward the pole as it does on Earth, in the northern hemisphere, has an upward tendency. This proves, I cried, that the great point of magnetic attraction lies somewhere between the surface of the Earth and the spot we have succeeded in reaching. Exactly, my observant nephew, he exclaimed, exclaimed my uncle, elated and delighted. And it is quite probable that if we succeed in getting toward the polar regions, somewhere near the 73rd degree of latitude, where Sir James Ross discovered the magnetic pole, we shall behold the needle point directly upward. We have, therefore, discovered by analogy that this great center of attraction is not situated at a very great depth. Well, said I, rather surprised, this discovery will astonish experimental philosophers. It was never suspected. Science, great, mighty, and in the end, unerring, replied my uncle, dogmatically. Science has fallen into many errors, errors which have been fortunate and useful, rather than otherwise, for they have been the stepping stones to truth. After further discussion, I turned to another matter. Have you any idea of the depth we have reached? We are now, continued the professor, exactly 35 leagues above 100 miles down into the interior of the earth. So, said I after measuring the distance on the map, we are now beneath the Scottish Highlands and have over our heads the lofty Grampian Hills. You are quite right, said the professor, laughing. It sounds very alarming, the weight being heavy, but the vault which supports this vast mass of earth and rock is solid and safe. The mighty architect of the universe has constructed it of solid materials. Man, even in its highest flights of vivid and poetic imagination, never thought of such things. What are the finest arches of our bridges? What the vaulted roofs of our cathedrals to that mighty dome above us, and beneath which floats an ocean with its storms and calms and tides. I admire it all. Let's take a look at this little drive. Oh, we coming up on, what do we call that? Florence Junction. Oh, the turn-off to Florence Junction. Florence Junction's actually a town, yeah. This is the junction to go to Florence Junction. Ha 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 ha. Okay, I admire it all as much as you can, Uncle, and have no fear that our granite sky will fall upon our heads. But now that we have discussed matters of science and discovery, what are your future intentions? Are you not thinking of getting back to the surface of our beautiful Earth? This was said more as a feeler than with any hope of success. Go back now? No, go back, nephew? Cried my uncle in a tone of alarm. You are not surely thinking of anything so absurd and cowardly. No, my intention is to advance and continue our journey. We have as yet been singularly fortunate, and henceforth I hope we shall be more so. But, said I, how are we to cross yonder liquid plain? It is not my intention to leap into its head foremost, or even to swim across it, like Leander over the Hellespont. But as oceans are, after all, only great lakes, inasmuch as they are surrounded by land, so does it stand to reason that this central sea is circumscribed by granite surroundings. Doubtless, was my natural reply. Well, then, do you not think that when once we reach the other end, we shall find some means of continuing our journey? Probably, but what extent do you allow to this internal ocean? Well, I should fancy it to extend about 40 or 50 leagues, more or less. But even supposing this approximation to be correct, what then? I asked. My dear boy, we have no time for further discussion. We shall embark tomorrow. I looked around with surprise and incredulity. Won't let it go. I could see nothing in the shape of a boat or vessel. What? I cried. We are about to launch out upon an unknown sea, and where, if I may ask, is the vessel to carry us? Well, my dear boy, it will not be exactly what you call a vessel. For the present, we must be content with a good and solid raft. A raft? I cried incredulously. But down here, a raft is as impossible of construction as a vessel. and I'm at a loss to imagine. My good Harry, if you were to listen instead of talking so much, you would hear, said my uncle, waxing a little impatient. I should hear? Yes, certain knocks with the hammer, which Hans is now employing to make the raft. He has been at work for many hours. Making a raft? Yes. But what has he found trees suitable for such a construction? He found the trees already to his hand. Come, and you shall see our excellent guide at work. More and more amazed at what I heard and saw, I followed my uncle, like one in a dream. After a walk of about a quarter an hour, I saw Hans at work on the other side of the promontory which formed our natural port. A few minutes more, and I was beside him. To my great surprise, on the sandy shore lay a half-finished raft. It was made from beams of a very peculiar wood, and a great number of limbs, joints, bows, and pieces lay about, sufficient to have constructed a fleet of ships and boats. Oh, see, we're getting closer into oh boy, Gold Canyon. Gold Canyon has become a hot little place for the retirement villages. Mostly the RV park things, the mobile home, tiny home, or what are we going to call them, park models, that kind of thing. But they do have some interesting ones there where they have these little park model tiny home things combined with an RV cover, right? So you can park your RV there, it's covered, it's shaded, and then you got your little casita type thing too. And you know, it's really not a bad idea. I really kind of like it. It's just that they jam them in there so tight, and you're just in rows, like I don't know. You know what I mean? It's a little tighter than that kind of thing is fantastic, but you still need to not be able to hear the person sleeping and snoring in the house right next door. Okay, so here we go. Constructed a fleet of ships and boats. I turned to my uncle, silent with astonishment and awe. Where did all this wood come from? I cried. What wood is it? Well, there is pine wood, fir, and the palms of the northern regions, mineralized by the action of the sea, he replied sententiously. Can it be possible? Yes, said the learned professor. What you see is called fossil wood. But then, cried I, after reflecting for a moment, like the lignites, it must be as hard and as heavy as iron, and therefore will certainly not float. Sometimes that is the case. Many of these woods have become true anthracites, but others, again, like those you see before you, have only undergone one phase of fossil transformation. But there is no proof like demonstration, added my uncle, picking one or two of these precious waifs and casting them into the sea. The piece of wood, after having disappeared for a moment, came to the surface and floated about with the oscillation produced by wind and tide. Are you convinced? Said my uncle, with a self-satisfying smile. I am convinced, I cried, that what I see is incredible. The fact was that my journey into the interior of the earth was rapidly changing all preconceived notions, and day by day preparing me for the marvelous. I should not have been surprised to have seen a fleet of native canoes afloat upon that silent sea. The very next evening, thanks to the industry and ability of Hans, the raft was finished. It was about 10 feet long and 5 feet wide. The beams, bound together with stout ropes, were solid and firm, and once launched by our united efforts, the improvised vessel floated tranquilly upon the waters of what the professor had well named the Central Sea. Oh, we made it. That's the end of that chapter, boy. Okay, this chapter 29, On the Waters, a Raft Voyage. Oh, I remember this part. We must be getting, we're past the halfway mark in this book. We're past the half, man, we're going to finish this book in another 20, 30 episodes. All right, let's see where we're at here. I see we're just kind of slow rolling it in there. Oh, we got a little bit. We can get started here. Okay. Chapter 29. Unless there's something to talk about, there really isn't. It's rolling through the desert, and yee-haw. Chapter 29. On the Waters, a Raft Voyage. On the 15th of August, we were up betimes. But what am I? No. On the 15th of August, we were up betimes. There was no time to be lost. We now had to inaugurate a new kind of locomotion, which would have the advantage of being rapid and not fatiguing. A mast made of 2 pieces of wood fastened together to give additional strength, a yard made from another one, the sail, a linen sheet from our bed. We were fortunately in no want of cordage, and the whole on trial appeared solid and seaworthy. At 6 o'clock in the morning, when the eager and enthusiastic professor gave the signal to embark, the victuals, the luggage, all our instruments, our weapons, and a goodly supply of sweet water, which we had collected from springs in the rocks, were placed on the raft. Hans had, with considerable ingenuity, contrived a rudder, which enabled him to guide the floating apparatus with ease. He took the tiller as a matter of course. The worthy man was as good a sailor as he was a guide and duck hunter. I then let go the painter, which held us to the shore. Oh, the sail was brought to the wind, and we made a rapid offing. Our sea voyage had at length commenced, and once more we were making for distant and unknown regions. Let's take a peek at this. We're just going to kind of play it out here for a bit, and we'll take and see where we're at. Okay, so like we're right in the Gold Canyon here now, and on the right-hand side there's you got your standard storage yards, and then a whole bunch of storage yards and mobile home parks and storage yards, and I think they're starting to get some services in there. I think there might be an Albertsons or a Safeway or something. I know there's a grocery store of some kind, but I think there's only the one, and then one, maybe 2 fuel stations, but they're not big enough to get an RV in them. A Bash's, that's what it is. They got a Bash's center there, and they exploded the population here, but the services did not come with. And there's always a delay there, because one is private and one's government, and one moves faster than the other. All right, where were we at here? Hans' sea voyage at length had commenced, and once more we were making for distant and unknown regions. Just as we were about to leave the little port where the raft had been constructed, my uncle, who was very strong as to geographic nomenclature, wanted to give it a name, and, among others, suggested mine. Well, said I, before you decide, I have another to propose. Well, out with it. I should like to call it Gretchen. Port Gretchen will sound very well on our future map. Ha! Well then, Port Gretchen let it be, said the professor. And thus it was that the memory of my dear girl was attached to our adventurous and memorable expedition. When we left the shore, the wind was blowing from northward and eastward. We went directly... Oh boy. All right. That's it. It's getting too difficult. So we're just going to call it. We're just going to take a look at this little drive. And we'll just see where we're at. Oh, we turn in a corner. Oh boy. You see that hill there with the path going up the hill? The cars line up. There'll be 100 cars, and they all park in a parking lot there, and it's like a bunch of, it's like a zombie movie. There's just these people, and they're just walking up this dirt road, and then they come walking down, and I'm like, what the heck is that? Oh, it's a hike. Oh, it's a hike. I'm like, oh, that's really... doesn't seem like a very exciting trail. I guess it's easy to get to. It's right by the freeway. It's got a great big old parking lot, but it truly, oh, you should see it on a Saturday or a Sunday. It looks like there must be some kind of a religious experience happening up there or something. There's so many people just like zombies walking up the hill. Okay, it is really getting difficult here. All right, where are we at? Oh, I know exactly where we's at. We on the big road. All right, let's just call it good for now. Summertime's coming. We're going to be hitting the road soon, and that'll be good because I'm tired of being here in the valley. So thank you so much for coming along, and we'll catch up next time. Get a little further down the road. We'll just do this here thing. Some sea. And of course, the most biggest of Rosie. Go, you big old Rosie. Thank you.